Happy Tuesday afternoon. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox. Thanks for joining us today. All right, we are tracking several rounds of storms. Finally, after many days without severe weather, focusing more on that winter-like weather, we are returning to those severe chances in the forecast. The first round starts in the Pacific Northwest today, where we are watching for some strong wind coming from thunderstorms and, of course, that risk for flooding, which has been an ongoing risk over the last a week, maybe 2 weeks at this point. It's definitely something to keep an eye on. As we head into the middle of the week, that storm risk shifts into the plains and into the Midwest. Now, we'll talk exactly about what we're watching for here, because we've got a little bit of everything. We've got snow, we've got a winter mix, and then of course we have that severe weather, which includes strong wind speeds from thunderstorms. And what about that hail risk? We'll talk about that as well. As we head into the weekend, bringing you all the way to Saturday and Sunday at this point, temperatures will stay above average. For a lot of people this weekend, it's going to be one of the warmer weekends before Christmas, not Thanksgiving. We're talking about Christmas now. And it does look like Christmas itself is going to be on the warmer side. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's happened over the past 24 hours. As we've talked about this past week, no severe weather the past 24 hours. However, by this time tomorrow, that could be changing. Because what we're watching for today is a system setting up out in the Pacific Northwest that's bringing a ton of rain to this area, but it also could be bringing some strong wind speeds. We've got a few other boundaries across the U.S., but nothing terribly strong at this point. That will change by Wednesday and Thursday as we have a strong low pressure system moving into the northern portion of the U.S., but right now it's pretty quiet up there, pretty quiet out to the west as well. Temperatures are pretty nice today, a little bit warmer than yesterday. 57 in Oklahoma City, 59 in Denver, 50 degrees in Billings, and we've got 42 in Minneapolis. Now, we'll talk about a bunch of different cities today, but comment where you're watching from. Comment, are you watching from Minneapolis? Which, by the way, Minneapolis, this is your first time today. Is it the 16th? Today, this is your first time to reach above freezing since 3 weeks ago before Thanksgiving. Holy moly, you spent over 480 hours consecutively below freezing. So we're finally back up to the 40s. We'll see some of that snow start to melt in Minneapolis as well. You've got a little bit of snow on the ground, but you can see that it does look like it's melting and will continue to do so. Alrighty, moving on here, let's talk about your significant hail model. Tell me in the comments, are you ready for this hail risk to return? Oftentimes, we have severe weather during December at some point, at least 1 or 2 days, and we just have not gotten that yet. So it feels like we are due for some sort of severe weather event. Well, today, it's not looking very promising. You can see that we've got a little bit of severe weather activity trying to go on across the Pacific Northwest. I think if we do see any hail there today, it will be very small, so we're not expecting any significant hail today. However, that could change by Thursday, okay? Here's your risk for today. It's mainly a wind risk highlighted there in blue. It's a low risk as well, so you're going to see those green icons pop up indicating that low risk from Seattle to Portland, Pendleton, and Eugene, Oregon. What we're watching for here is every now and then some storms could go up. They could produce some strong wind gusts. It won't last long. They'll go on their way. Really, the big risk here is going to be that flood risk. Take a look at your 5-day rain chances. They are not the only people getting rain. However, you're going to get the most rain on the West Coast. But now let's turn our attention to where I think a lot of people are watching from today. Across the Midwest, Tennessee Valley, that's where we're watching for storms into the middle of the week. And perfect timing here, Flight Girl Tracker, I'm trying there with that username, says that you're watching from Columbus, Ohio. We're also watching for rain in Ohio this week as well. That'll most likely be later in the week as we have this low pressure system that's moving from the northern portion of the U.S. across the U.S. That'll be whenever we get some of that rain across anywhere from the Midwest all the way to the Tennessee Valley, all the way down to Texas. So you do have some rain down in Texas today. Texas, Texarkana, as we have here. Texas Aggie is watching from Texarkana today. You guys are expecting some rain. You're in that risk. So what this means, highlighted there in red, is that we're expecting some form of wet weather. Severe thunderstorms most likely not going to happen here. However, thunderstorms are possible. You've got that lightning, you've got that thunder, but not necessarily going severe. Very low chance for severe weather in Texas today. By tomorrow, we have another chance for thunderstorms all across eastern Texas into the northern portion of Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, southern Illinois, and even portions of Tennessee. But things get a lot more interesting on Thursday as we have a low pressure system that's going to continue to move across the states. Extending from that low pressure system is a cold front. At the same time, and we'll talk more about this in just a minute, you have moisture coming up from the Gulf and into this area. And as I mentioned earlier, temperatures are a little bit warm for this time of the year. You've got the 50s, 60s, and maybe even 70s moving in. All of that contributing to that chance for severe weather, which we do have a marginal risk, a level 1 highlighted there in green. Now, I do want to put my caveat on this. If you look at the Storm Prediction Center, they have cut their risk off right around Memphis. They did not extend their risk down into Mississippi and Alabama. However, I did. I looked at the models this morning. I said that I think we're going to see storms farther to the south as well. So just, if you guys look at Storm Prediction Center, you may see some differences here. Maybe they'll update their risk to look more like this tomorrow. We'll have to see. For those watching in Ohio, you are not included in the risk. I think it's just a little bit too cold. However, you could get some rain or maybe even some snow in this area. Illinois joining in here as well. So Illinois, you have a chance for storms both Wednesday and Thursday. Better chance for severe weather on Thursday, especially in the southern side of the state. So we've talked about the risks. Let's get into the maps here. Your timing for storms. We talked about some showers and storms down in Texas, Texarkana included in that today. But for the most part, these are likely to stay non-severe. Maybe a little bit of snow in the northern portion of Illinois today, but accumulations are going to be pretty minor. Most of our activity today is happening in the Pacific Northwest, where we are expecting a ton of rain. Over the last 24 hours, 1 to 2 to 3 inches of rain have been very, very common across Washington and Oregon. That's going to continue as those flood risks stay in effect from today, getting a break tomorrow, back in effect on Thursday and Friday. Moving back to the Midwest now, showers and storms will look a little bit more interesting as we have, and focus your attention up here, as we have a low pressure system moving across the northern portion of the U.S. tomorrow. So North Dakota, Minnesota, why does this matter to people down in Texas? Well, it does. Basically, what this low pressure system is doing is it's extending a cold front all the way down into Texas. That is going to drive, or rather this trough is going to drive this severe weather down anywhere from Texas all the way up to Illinois. Or wet weather, I should say. Wet weather anywhere from Texas to Illinois. So let's watch this one more time. Let's actually zoom into that low pressure system. You can see the circulation here from some of this moisture getting caught up in that low. Do you see that spin? There you go. There's your surface low right there. And then extending from that is that cold front that will bring wet weather anywhere from Kansas City all the way into Wisconsin, Chicago included in that, Texas, of course, included in that as well. Here's a better look at that low pressure system. So that's what's driving the weather, or that's what's driving our wet weather over the next few days. Let's talk timing. Here's Ohio, most likely not seeing severe weather by 1 o'clock on Thursday afternoon. However, you are going to see some wet weather. I would expect some light to moderate to maybe heavy rain at times. Your better chance for severe weather is going to be farther down to the south into places like southern Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, through Memphis, and into the northern portion of Mississippi and Alabama. That's your best chance for severe weather right in this area. I think the biggest risk that we're going to see on Thursday will be that high wind risk. Hail, we can't rule out right now, but I think that unstable air, it's just not there. And what I mean by that is you need that air to lift, you need it to rise, you need those strong updraft speeds to create hail in the beginning, just to start off. You need those strong updraft speeds to create hail, but you need strong updraft speeds to hold that hailstone in the storm long enough for it to form and for it to grow before it finally falls out and falls to the ground. And we just don't have that this time around. It's a pretty impressive system. We do have some moisture, as I mentioned earlier, moving up from the Gulf and into Texas. Oklahoma is going to get some of this moisture as our dew points go up. Louisiana, Missouri, Arkansas here, all getting more of that moisture. Let me tell you the difference between those dew points highlighted there in green and dew points highlighted in brown and in white. Some of these are single-digit dew points. What does that mean? It's very, very dry air, and then you've got a sharp gradient that goes into some more of this moist air here. That moist air, that's going to help for storms to form, and that gradient shows the cold front that's moving through. Now, what about your unstable air? That's what I mentioned earlier. That's what we need, your convective available potential energy, CAPE. That is what we need for severe weather. It's going to highlight here in blue, and it just does not look very promising. So I told it to you earlier. I showed you the models to prove that this is what all the meteorologists are seeing. It's just not terribly promising in this area. However, I still think that we could get some strong storms in this area. A few of those will go severe. The biggest risk this time is going to be strong wind speeds, anywhere from Memphis all the way through Kentucky, Tennessee, Nashville included in this. We have the northern portion of Mississippi and Alabama also included in this risk. So there's your risk. It's a level 1 on Thursday. Let's move to temperatures because a lot of people are enjoying the nicer weather that we have today. Finally, we're above freezing up to the north in places like Minnesota, which has spent 3 weeks consecutively below freezing. So over 480 hours below freezing in Minneapolis, finally breaking that streak today. Temperatures are pretty nice down here in Oklahoma and Texas, but it's going to be even nicer tomorrow. Thursday looks really nice as we have temperatures in the 50s and 60s. But then that low pressure system takes hold later in the day on Thursday. You can see those temperatures come tumbling once again below freezing in our northern states. And then we've got a big cold front moving through for some of those southern states, keeping Friday on the cooler side. But we rebound very, very nicely as we head into Saturday, back into the 60s and 70s before Christmas. On Saturday, I'll take it. Maybe that means that you're celebrating the holidays a little bit early with your family and you can get outdoors. 81 in Houston on Sunday. Holy moly, that sounds amazing. Alrighty, moving on. Let's take a look at our long-term temperatures here. What are we talking about through next week? December 21st through the 25th, it looks like temperatures have a very high likelihood to be warmer than normal. What does this mean? If your average this time of the year is 55, you have a really good chance to be in the 60s for most of next week. Now, we're not saying it's going to be in the 90s. I know everyone looks at this map and they say, red, hot. No, it just means warmer than normal. Seasonably warm is what we're watching for here. That will most likely last all the way through the end of December. So hopefully we can get a nice warm New Year's Eve as well. If we look at our moisture chances here, it does look like it's going to dry up by the middle of next week. As we look at models, there's some disagreements with this. Not all models are agreeing that it's going to be dry next week. So I'm kind of interested to see what we do in terms of wet weather. It will be pretty wet on the West Coast though. And there you go. There's your forecast today. I think that we got through all of your questions. We had Illinois, Texarkana, Columbus, Ohio, all in today, so we appreciate you guys commenting your locations. As always, we'll be following the weather as we head into the middle of the work week as that severe weather chance goes up. We will continue to track it for you and update you as we get more information on all of our forms of social media, so make sure that you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, or give us a call for a hail, wind, or tornado map. This warm weather is the perfect time to go out and track storms or go back through those areas that were hit by storms earlier this year, right? We had tons of storms in May, June, and July. Go back through those areas. Grab your HailTrace subscription. Go back through those areas. If you don't have one yet, give us a call at 855-334-4245 or email us at info@hailtrace.com. You can also head over to our website, hailtrace.com, for more information. All right, thanks for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Taylor Cox, and I'll see you back here